Lethal, you're here. Welcome back to False Face 5 conversation with Shane Embury, whose new album Bridge to Resolution is out this Friday on Cherry Red Records. Get it from them, and you'll get a signed print of this art, which is beautiful. That's the one I've ordered. Shane was kind enough to provide me with a copy of the album in advance so we could have a chat about it, and it is ace. Surprising, maybe not all that surprising if you've been paying close attention to what Shane's been doing for the past 10 or 15 years, but a departure definitely, and the first commercially available album to have Shane's name as the credited artist for the album. I phrase that awkwardly, but it's the first Shane Embury album that you can go in and buy in a shop that is by Shane Embury, and it's awesome. And after months of haranguement and weapons grade, well, polite requests really, if that's a thing, but me and Shane finally made it happen, and here we are. A nice, brief, by my standards, 1 hour conversation with the grind legend, and we talk all sorts. We talk about what Napalm Death is up to, when the next record's coming, what we can expect from that. We talk about his friendship, long-standing collaboration with Nicholas Barker, who's a friend of the show, and indeed Nick's GoFundMe link is still live. You can find the link to that in the description for this video, just underneath. But yeah, Shane and I talked an awful lot about all kinds of stuff to do with music and his philosophy on music and the philosophy of the self and mental health and looking after yourself and the combating realities of life on the road and life at home, and which selves work in which environments, and indeed the idea of selves, masks, all that stuff. He's a very interesting cat to talk to, as you'll find out, because you're going to stick around, right? And as always, thanks to anyone who chooses to spend any of their time with The False Face, which is sponsored and in permanent association presented by and with James Neeson's Mental Health for Metalheads, which Shane and I also discuss. So there's more detail on that in the body of the interview. But with regards to this, I'd like to say that as of next week, so it's currently late June, as of the 1st of July, you'll be able to get the paperback copy, Kindle version of the book, which you can read on this, which is my Kindle. You can read it on my Kindle. You come to my house and we will sit and we will read together, or you read it your phone. And the hardback copy, the camera's going to go, will all be available as of next week. Folks are already picking up the hardback copy, but you've got your range of formats will be available as of next week. Pre-order link and details for that are in the description below as well. And I can't waffle on anymore, can I? We're only up to 3 minutes. We're doing pretty good by my standards. I'd like to invite you to hang around, and if you enjoy my chat with Shane, check out the first 4 videos on the channel as well, in which I spoke to Nicholas Barker, I spoke to My Dying Bride OG Rick Maya, I spoke to Dan Toasty Forden of Mortal Kombat, bottom right hand corner of your screen infamy, and most recently I spoke to Jason Mendonça of Aker Kaka. That one went up last week, and I had a blast speaking to all of these people, and I have a blast when I get a chance to speak to you in the comments. Blah blah blah, YouTube algorithm bullshit. No, it's all completely legit. I want to talk to you in the comments. You like Shane Embury? You listened to Bridge to Resolution? You listened to Fear Emptiness Despair recently? Because that's the one. Let's talk about it in the comments. Let's have a chat. Talk about the first time you saw Napalm Death. Talk about the last time you saw Napalm Death. Talk about your favourite Dark Sky Burial record, of which there are 12, and they're all good. How does he do that? And yeah, just the last 3 things. It's a stone cold gas to have you. Like, subscribe, love yous. See you later. Cool. Well, I suppose we may kick off. I suppose the first thing I wanted to check with you, Shane, is because I know you ended your book with a quote from Neil Peart that we're only immortal for a limited time, and I could take it from that you're a big enough Rush fan.
Yeah, I've loved Rush since probably, I suppose in a way, because I didn't get introduced to them until moving, I think probably moving pictures maybe, but one of my good friends, we listened to various Rush albums, but I think that was the one that we picked up on at the time, or something like maybe it was weird, it was different at the time compared to the Rush I was familiar with, whatever, but that's the one that is always sort of stands with me. But yeah, I mean, I do like Rush a lot. Yeah.
You've been paying attention to YouTube recently with the comeback shows and
Yeah, yeah, that's it. It seems she's doing a great job, I think, and I thought she would anyway. I didn't know much about her really, but yeah, I mean, I think it's good that they're doing. I think it's interesting they're doing quite varied sets.
yeah, it is interesting that they didn't just lock down a set and stick with that every night, but they've given themselves room to do. Basically, I think they did four nights in a row with no duplication of the full set.
It takes a lot to do that, really. I think it's a lot of, especially. I mean, I know that with Napalm, we'll try and vary it a little bit, and our stuff's nowhere near. I believe, in my opinion, as complex as Rush's.
Yeah.
But so it's impressive to do that. Yeah.
It's a question I suppose I've been wanting to ask you for years, but I never thought that it would come up so naturally. Speaking of complexity and Napalm Death songs, right? And in fact, I can show you this. This sounds like I've set this up, but I promise I didn't. The first CD that I ever bought with my own money, if that shows up, that's the Mortal Kombat soundtrack. And I don't know the inlay and the booklet are long lost to time, but that was an eye-watering £17 in the HMV in Belfast when I would have probably been about 8 or 9, so I must have seen the film. But Twist the Knife Slowly is on that from Fear, Emptiness, Despair, and there's some. Is that song difficult to play? Is that the kind of song where you have to count when you're playing it? Because there's something about that riff and what Danny's doing on the drums is, you just, I don't know, it's almost like you have to just do it by feel. But there's some weird time signature or something going on there.
Yeah, I think it's a not. I think it's a 5.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I'm gonna try and read it myself. It's like a 5. It's one of Mitch's riffs.
Yeah.
And the whole time, and I'm not sure where he got the inspiration for it from, but it is weird to play, and weirder probably because the tuning is C sharp, and now most Napalm is in D now.
Oh yeah.
So that becomes tricky when we play it live in a way. So yeah, you got to watch it. Yeah, it compared to Utopia, the album before, which is pretty straight 4/4s or whatever. That's a strange one, Yeah.
It is. How did you guys end up on that soundtrack? Would that have been as a result of because that was the first album that came out in Colombia? Is that right? In terms of the
yeah, well,
deal?
there's a guy, a good friend of ours, a guy called Jim Welsh, and we're still friends today.
Mm-hmm.
And Jim Welsh was really good friends with Danny Lilker.
Yeah.
Jim Welsh worked for Combat Records, which was an old American metal label. There was Combat Records, Stroke Relativity Media, and Combat was that combination that they licensed Earache, when right before Harmony Corruption came out. And so Jim was always a good friend and pushed us. And I think when he moved over to Columbia Records too, and I think it was like Who You Know.
Yeah.
So Mortal Kombat, and that's a lot of how it goes now. I think still probably, and we were quite lucky to get on there. And of course, for some reason, that album seemed to do really well. Because most soundtrack albums, I don't. Well, maybe now they do, but back then it was hit or miss whether they do actually that well.
It's a great introduction. It's a great primer for metal fans because there's Fear Factory's on there too. You've got Zero Signal from Demanufacture. There's one of Geezer, one of the songs from his first solo album that also had Burton C. Bell on it, and there's Typo Negative and stuff. But even for the heavy stuff that's on that album, Twist the Knife Slowly being on the soundtrack to a major motion picture is nuts when you think about it, Shane. Like that song is that whole album is so heavy, but that song with that time signature thing, it's such a challenging thing to appear on an album like that.
Yeah, but, I mean, it certainly was. Now when it's harder, it's much harder, I think, to get into those sort of soundtracks with it because the music scenes, there's so many more bands and so many more different companies, but. Yeah, it was good to do. Good to have that on there. It kind of give us a bit of a kick, for doing it.
Nice one. Well, listen, let's get cracking with talking about the book, which is an interesting thing. That I mean, you've just kind of finished a book tour for what's the best way to put it? I suppose maybe promoting the audiobook version of Life and Napalm Death, which I have here. The first thing I have to say is that I've thought about this. So the previous title for best autobiography name was held by Duff McKagan, whose autobiography was called "It's So Easy and Other Lies," I believe. But Life and Napalm Death is the supreme title for autobiographies, Shane. I think just the way it ties in with the song Life and Death, Life and Napalm Death,
Yeah.
sublime. Good work on that one. That's yeah, that's a good one. But how did the book tour go, and how did it come about?
When the book came out originally, I guess I did 2 or 3, I guess, kind of book in conversations,
Yeah.
rough trade, and there was the Louder Than Words book festival, which was down in Manchester. So you get the opportunity to sort of test the water and talk about stuff, and so they went pretty good. And then it's always kind of in the back of my mind to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have a bit of downtime right now while I'm sort of taking a break from Napalm's live stuff. So it was okay. I mean, they're not like gigs or anything at all. So, I mean, I think the biggest attendance was probably Birmingham, about 60, 70 people,
That's okay, yeah.
But that's okay. I mean, that's fine for me, really. I mean, of course you'd like some more, but um, you get, I quite liked it from many aspects because I get the chance to sort of talk about what's sort of been going on,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of be truthful as I possibly can be as to what is going on.
Yeah.
I suppose for anybody who's interested. I mean, my life, it is what it is. I mean, there's a million people everywhere in the world. We all got struggles. We all got loads of shit we got to go through. I'm no different. I'm no special. But I can talk about memories but also get to meet people, which I quite like, because
Yeah.
when you put on these, I mean, if I get into my putting on masks things or whatever you want to call it, it's nice to meet people, and there you go, there's a record, blah blah this, and you might get a bit of a pat on the back, but sometimes it's nice to have that.
Yeah.
But then I come back home, and then I got to clean the cat shit out or something, and it's just like, well, it brings you back down to earth, and those
Yeah.
kind of balances I find I kind of probably need more and more now in some ways.
Yeah.
But it was good to chit chat to people. I mean, I got to feel like I've like a plethora of like vinyl sitting at home, which I take out with me and sell a couple of copies here, a couple of copies there,
Yeah.
and so it was all right. I mean, I liked it, and I met some pretty interesting people, and I hope to do some more.
I mean, I get totally what you're saying. The reason I started this channel was because I wanted to talk to people and connect and on more of a, less of a sort of interview basis and just talking to people, I suppose, that I admire and seeing what they were like and what they were into and that sort of thing. And the first guy that I reached out to was your old pal Nick Barker, and he was very generous with the time. I spoke to Nick for a good 3 hours that night, and again, for anybody watching that doesn't know, Nick's going through health struggles of his own. There's a GoFundMe page which will be linked in the description for this video. Take a look at that because Nick needs help. So long as he's unable to tour as a musician, then he's unable to make money. And I got to get that plug in there because I wouldn't be talking to you now probably if Nick hadn't been so generous to speak to me in the first place. But I mean, can you talk a bit about Nick? When did you guys meet, Shane? That friendship goes back a long time, if I'm right.
I first met Nick in 1991 because he was drum teching for the Telford death metal band Cancer.
Yes.
And they were on tour with Malevolent Creation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I met Nick in, where did they play? They played somewhere in Wales. I can't remember where exactly. But I know the Cancer Boys for forever because we grew up in the same area. And so I met Nick. He was very young then, and then and that was it. Just briefly, I suppose he would call it. Knowing Nick, he would say he was a fanboy. I mean, I know he would say that, even though I didn't see him that way, but that's what he would say. And I saw him, then we met again. And I remember, oh yes, Nick, he's doing Cradle of Filth, and you kind of see Cradle of Filth going through the magazines, and I'm like, okay, what is this band from England? I thought, I mean, at first I thought it was weird they were black metal because to me black metal was kind of Venom, and then I kind of missed the boat a little. Well, Bathory to me, black metal was Venom, Bathory, and probably King Diamond, Merciful Fate, probably.
Yeah.
And because I'm a bit of an old fart, and then and of course the whole second wave was coming or whatever, so they were riding that, and then in '98. funny enough, I got to meet two of his friends before. He said, "Oh, you're friends with Nick." I'm like, "Okay." And then I was in Costamongers, this one pub that's, I'm not sure if it's still around now in Birmingham, and Nick came up to me.
Mm-hmm.
Bit older, hair was shorter, a bit bulkier,
Yeah.
leather jacket on. I was like, "Oh, fucking hell, he's grown," and we just kind of hit it off again. And I think he was doing Cruelty and the Beast in Birmingham, and I don't know. I mean, him and Danny Filth never really got on. I know they're friends, but I know the deal to some degree. And I guess he was looking for a bit of a place to hang his hat,
Yeah.
and so we had the Napalm Death Ace, as we call it,
Uh-huh.
and we were just there most of the time, partying and being bloody fools,
Mm.
and then and then it just kind of kick-started Lockup together.
Yeah.
And then we shared many tours, many shows, many experiences. We've fallen out a lot of times because we're very close, but we're quite stubborn, me and him,
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
but that's that. And I haven't spoken to him for a while, unfortunately. I've dropped him a message a while back, but I think he's having a bit of a rough time right now.
From what I understand, he is. Yeah, and yeah, we're all thinking of him. Like, I'm so surprised. I read in your book that one of the earliest falling outs that you mentioned was that or not so much a falling out, but that he was maybe a little bit aggrieved that you hadn't asked him to replace Mickey Harris in Napalm Death, but kind of talking an alternate timeline there.
I don't think we felt about that, but I
Yeah.
think I think that was something we never kind of. It's kind of strange when Mickey left because well, multiple reasons, but I mean, obviously musicians were in this country, we're in England, but it's never occurred to us. It really didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know much about Nick apart from that. I only met him that once. And I knew he was a drummer, but I just didn't know. I lost touch with my cancer friends for a long time, even though they were just down the road. And because Jesse had put forward Danny,
Yeah.
I mean, Danny didn't even audition. He just, you know,
Yeah.
came over, and because Jesse said he could play, we said, well, okay, if Jesse said he's fine, and he was totally fine, but it was totally green behind the ears. I mean, when he did a line check, we were playing at the Ritz, it used to be called the Ritz Club Studio 54,
Mm-hmm.
playing with the Sepultura, and it was second show. We said with Danny, it was like, can you give us the kick drum? When you do a sound check, and you just hit it once,
Yeah.
and again, and again. And he just didn't know,
Yeah.
and he just learnt the set. We did the first show in Germany we played together, and he fell off his stool, or the stool broke 30 seconds into the opening track. And I said to him, it's not going to get any worse.
Yeah.
And then he blasted on Suffer the Children, and of course went like 10 bars longer, and we were like, fucking hell.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I digress a bit. But no, so I mean, me and Nick fight over other things. It's just I think Nick would probably admit it more now than he would back then. I mean, he's part of his kind of. We all have our issues, and Nick's thing is like he feels like I could always tell sometimes if I didn't go out to like see Cannibal Corpse with him, he'd get upset with me
Okay.
because I'm classic for like I'm gonna do it and then I just flake because
Yeah.
I don't mean to, but sometimes it's just like I feel like I've been spent my entire life gigging.
Yeah.
And then I quite enjoy. I come here with my cat, right now, and that's kind of like
Class. Yeah.
that kind of. I've started to appreciate things like that more and more. And it's just, so he felt like he was let down. He'd get the hump for a while. I'm like, man, come on, dude, grow up. I know I'm a pain in the ass, but come on. Yeah, but
Yeah.
we're both the same, like, in some ways. So anyway, but yeah. Anyway,
It's cool to see the that you would circle back to each other a lot over the years in various projects because I listened to so much music in preparation for talking to you and obviously in preparation to talking to Nick as well. But you guys were on Liquid Graveyard with John from Cancer.
yeah.
As did you play you bass on that record as well, Shane? Yeah.
Did the bass on that, yeah, because I've
Yeah.
known John. I mean, John's known forever. And then I think we tied it into the old trip with my wife and my daughter was pretty young at the time. But yeah, we played bass on there, and then yeah,
And then obviously the Breweria stuff.
yeah.
According to Discogs, now Nick challenged me on this, but according to Discogs, you two also did the Alan Athrak session for the BBC. But he says that you weren't involved in that, and I was just wondering what your memory of that was.
Um, I definitely played on one, and I can't remember which. I'm pretty sure Nick was there for that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he told me about the just dealing with this like old BBC sound producer guy who got a great sound out of it, but wasn't a metalhead. Do you know what I mean? And then obviously in walks Arnold Nathrak, and yeah,
Well,
that's a
you tended to get that. I'm pretty sure. Nick, yeah, we did one. Yeah, Nick was there. I'm surprised Nick can't remember that one.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know who he told me. I can't remember now who he told me who did do that session, but no, it's just great. Yeah, like I say, that enduring combination of you guys, always end up working with each other in different pockets and leaving one band and coming back to another band, and obviously the brewery stuff is all great as well. And Lockup in particular, it's funny you mentioned that, Shane, because like just before I jumped on the call, the postman brought this
Oh,
saying
that's nice. Cool.
more
Nice one.
plugging. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
getting stuck into that and reading the liner notes and stuff like that. And also, it's great that those albums have been out of print for a long time, and I see Dregs of Hades is back out in vinyl, or it's coming out shortly again as well. So it's good to keep that stuff available for the people that still walk into record shops and want to pick something up. It's important to have that stuff
Yeah,
available.
they're coming out. They're coming back on vinyl again, which is because they're quite limited, I think, when they first came.
Would have
You
been,
know,
yeah.
and we'll see how it all goes. I mean, people seem to be quite happy about it, from what I gather. So that's good. Yeah,
Yeah. Obviously recorded two albums with Lock Up with Tampa as well, and that's been a big loss in the metal community. But more importantly for guys like you that were friends with Tampa, who was just beloved. Shane, do you know what I mean? It's such an important figure with a great voice, not just his vocals, but his voice and his philosophy as well. I was just wondering what your thoughts were on that latest At the Gates album, and how you felt about that, hearing that being finished after he passed, because there's a profound statement made on that album, and it's a great testament to him, I think.
Well, yeah. I mean, with the last one, I've actually only heard a few tracks because I just I don't know. It's been a bit of a strange thing about. I don't know. I've been me and Thomas became very close over the years, as close as we could, I guess, in some ways. He used to send me the last couple of albums, and including this one. I'm pretty sure he did. He would send me lyrics to proofread.
Really,
You
yeah.
know, I never quite understood got it because I mean we ever dare I say it's when I write for lyrics for Lockup and we wrote together lyrics for Lockup, we were quite similar because we were trying to maybe we weren't trying to talk well we might whatever subject matter that was meant to that we were thinking about, we like to do it in abstract ways, I suppose, where the multiple meanings for multiple lines in the song. So, but I guess he would send me lyrics to sort of to ask me. I suppose he valued me as a lyricist, and then he said, "Does it sound okay?" And I'm like, "Well, it's fine. Why wouldn't it be?"
Hmm.
And occasionally there'd be a word different because of the translation from Swedish to English. But I thought that made it better. I thought, well, it makes it better. It makes it more kind
Yeah.
of mysterious or something. And so he was always fine with that. But yeah, I mean, I've only heard a couple of tracks, so every week I've got to give it the full scope.
Hmm.
And then something, God, you'd think at home it'd be easier being on tour. Hold on a second, someone's knocking the door. Apologies.
Is that
Um,
okay? Yeah.
but it seems like my life seems more insane at home pretty much. Okay. Yeah. Cheers, man. Thank you very much. And but sorry about
Okay.
that. But life at home,
Yeah.
um, not so grindcore, but um, and yeah. So where was I really? But I don't even know where I was. Where was I? I can't remember.
At the
Uh,
gates, yeah, but also
yeah,
the hecticness of daily life too.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, I met Thomas in 1989. I think I've said a couple of times. He must have been singing in Grotesque at the time,
I think
and
so.
he came to see Napalm when we played with Morbid Angel, and then I've kind of I connected with him more in 2004 when they did Terminal Spirit Disease, and then when we toured together in '96 with Slaughter of the Soul, we just became really good friends because you're with each other every day, you
Yeah.
know. And I've always got on well with a lot of Scandinavians. I find them really fun people. Generally, they're chuffed with their medal.
Yeah, yeah,
And they're like, at the time, of course, I was there too. They love drinking, and I used to love drinking. So
yeah, yeah.
it was pretty much easy going. But Thomas he's a lovely guy. It was really nice to we managed to do when the last album came out. We only did one show, and that album, The Dregs of '80s, was recorded like in different parts of the world because of the pandemic. And then we did one show at the Roskilde Festival in Denmark.
Yes, uh-huh.
And then that was really nice to do that. And then we had a good 6 days there and hanging out a lot. And I hadn't seen Thomas for a few years at that point. And, he'd mellowed even more and, he'd remarried and he was really happy and stuff was going well. And it's just a reminder, really, that you just never know when your last days or your last period of time is. And you've really got to try and find some sort of peace with whatever it is going on in your life, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's something you might find this when you're listening to that album, but the second to last track on it is an instrumental piece that he doesn't appear on. And the first time that I listened to it, that really struck me because all of a sudden, then even within the body of the album, he's gone. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And then it's such a fucking relief when the last track comes in and he's back, because then that
Yeah.
reminds you, well, this is what his legacy is. So long as those records, everything that you just mentioned there, so long as they exist, then he always exists. Do you know what I mean? And that's a trite way of putting it, but like to have that record of your artistry and your personality. But I just think putting that instrumental track second from last was a masterstroke of making a statement on that album. And Shane, without wanting to go down too morbid a route, obviously John and Peach from Brujeria passing away in the past couple of years as well. It was in such short time, all three of those guys, collaborators of yours, friends of yours.
Mm.
Um, when was the last time that you saw those guys? Because you weren't on that Brujeria tour. Um, you would have played within the past few years with those guys. Is that right?
I think the last time I played with Brewery was probably Napalm and Brewery toured in America. I'm trying to think when that was. Probably, God, when was that? 2018, 2019? No. No, was that far back? Maybe no.
Hmm.
Can't be that far back. Must be, I can't remember, 2021 maybe in the
Yeah.
States, something like that. And that would probably be the last proper tour. And then they did a tour last year. Was it last year or the year before?
It
No,
was.
2 years ago. I
I think it
can't
was about
remember.
2 years ago. Yeah.
2 years ago, and 'cause time goes by so quick it seems. And I went to see them. They did the Uprising Festival in Leicester, and then did one track with them, and then I saw them in Hellfest because I was there as part of this Savage Lands uh, project, which Dirk from Megadeth has
Mm-hmm.
started. It's to do with conservation of forests then in Costa Rica and stuff, and I did some stuff with Andreas and a few other people on stage. I sang part of Roots, which is pretty weird. But anyway, I digress. I guess. But yeah, I got and the plane landed late, and I was God, if I could get to Hellfest, I should be able to do at least one song with them.
Yeah.
But I got there late, and so that was the last time I saw Peach and John,
Yeah.
and then Peach passed away shortly afterwards. And then I heard that John wasn't in a very good way on the US tour. Speaking to my friend Jessica, who was touring with him, and Anton, and yeah, so that was kind of the last time. I'd messaged from John a few times because he was having a rough time with Peach because Peach was his cousin,
Yeah. That's right.
you know. But yeah, I go back with those guys a long time, and so yeah, it's there's a lot of folks. I mean, Brent from Mastodon passed away last year, and
Yeah.
I wasn't that close to Brent, but I partied with him, and he was a lovely guy, and I know the Mastodon guys really well, or very well, whatever way you want to describe it, but
Yeah.
well enough that they're friends, and so these things, yeah, these strategies are happening, and I mean, and it's really hard to process sometimes straight away. You do it takes a time, it takes a while. I find sometimes it gets stronger as it goes on, maybe,
Yeah.
And me myself, came very close last year to to be in a lot of trouble, on the road. So yeah, these things are the if you're not disciplined enough on the road, depending on your persona, your personality, whatever, you got to be really careful. I mean, John and Peach pushed it pretty hard. Brewery was all about
Yeah,
maximum,
yeah.
maximum. Everyone in Brewery were pretty much, well, most were fucking nutcases.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not gonna, it's gonna come at a price, whether you like it or not.
It'll catch up some stage. So you've alluded there, Shane, that you had maybe a bit of a health crisis. That's what's led to this kind of prolonged period of taking a break from live work. Then.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on and off probably for a long time. I mean, in some ways, my health's been generally okay. I've been very lucky, really, because I've had what they call pancreatitis.
Mm-hmm.
Pancreatitis from drink. I've had that like 3 times in my life. At various stages, and I've been hospitalised 3 times. Um, and it's quite lucky to bounce back as I have done.
Yeah,
You know, through drinking, and you don't like to think that you're like a quote unquote alcoholic. You go, no, I've got a handle on it. You think you have because you go on and tour and you come back,
yeah,
and then you switch it off. But the last few years, I hadn't drank for a long, long time, and then last few years it kind of crept back in again, and loads of other different issues were going on for me. And last year was pretty hardcore on the Melbourne tour. I got about 3 weeks into it, and I had to leave. You
yeah,
know, it was just. It could have gone really bad. I mean, I'm in a much better place now than I was this time last year. That's for sure. Mentally,
yeah.
physically, everything. I mean, I bounced back, so to speak, relatively quickly.
Mm-hmm.
They do say alcoholics are very studious in that respect.
Yeah,
And I went to some AA meetings, which I'd never done before. And I found that kind of interesting from perspectives of looking at listening to them talk and reading the alcoholic the big blue book, as they call it, and going, okay, I recognize myself in these pages. I'm also kind of into my Jungian psychology, which
yeah,
is an ever learning experience. You can't sort of take it quote unquote for you because every person's different, but the whole looking at your inner shadow and your personas and the ego and various things. So together, with the AA, I felt a bit more armed this time.
that's great.
Towards trying to work it out. And then of course the life on the road is very different to life at home, and you have to start looking at yourself and go, well, maybe I'm a big part of what's going on here. What is this? And so, yeah. And with Napalm Boys, they're very supportive. They were worried about me. They probably didn't want to wake up and find me dead in the bunk.
Yeah, yeah,
No one would like that, of course. And quite irresponsible, I think, of me as well. Really, when I think, and but then I go, well, what the hell was driving me? To go out, because on the surface you can say, well, you're quite a successful character.
yeah,
I have my family, I have multiple projects. So why are you pushing yourself to such extremes? So that's kind of been a bit of a quest, you know.
yeah,
What's triggering me for all that shit, um, and I think touring has become a bit difficult for me before that, but not so much touring as such, but just the amount. I mean, it's not so much the Napalm Death as the fact that at one point I was touring with 4 or 5 bands, just pushing, 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 pushing,
yeah.
And I think sometimes you get burned out.
100%.
And sometimes your body has to tell you maybe, or your inner spirit or whatever, got your conscious. This will probably bring. If you try and ignore it, it will make it. It will knock on you and go, look,
Yeah,
So that was that really, without rambling on forever, which I can do. So yeah, I've been reassessing what's
yeah.
going on. Really, yeah.
Looking inwards from the sounds of it, Shane,
A lot of
and
that, but
looking backwards too.
a lot of that looking everywhere, really, and
Yeah.
also, realizing that I mean, especially in the pandemic, relations with my family were strained at time, because I like to think I'm generally an okay person, but
Mm-hmm.
there's times where I'm a complete nightmare to be with, and I'm like, well, what's going on there,
Yeah.
um, so all this kind of soul searching sort of individuation, I guess they call it in
Yeah.
Jungian terms,
Mm-hmm.
is to try and find your authentic version of yourself, or um, what I don't know. I think I mean, speaking just for speaking terms, you go on tour and people say, "Oh, you're great, you're wonderful, you're this, you're that," and you can. I like to try and feel I'm modest about it, but you hear that so much, you come home, but that doesn't work. That means shit when you're home.
Yeah.
When you're home, you're just you're there to be a dad and be a husband, and
Mm-hmm.
be nice.
Yeah.
Don't be fucking. I've never thought myself as trying to marching around like I've never that rock starish thing. I've always tried to be against that in a way. Um, but sometimes you can bring it back home with you, and
100%. Yeah.
I'm not really into that part, and yeah, it takes some accountability for it all. I think really.
I mean, obviously, you spend so much time in that sphere because, like, we're never trained as young people for what that lifestyle is like, and you've seen the evolution of it from when the music industry was booming and there was room for success of all different kinds of types of music coming up through the 80s, 90s, and noughties, and you've also seen what it's like now. But we'll never be able to instruct young people on what it's like going into that world, and it changes the way you think. Nick told me the exact same thing. He says that the way that it's not necessarily an ego thing, but the way that you think about yourself when you're on the road is at odds with a different kind of reality when you get home. But obviously, it informs the ideals of what you think about yourself, what you think yourself is. And then, whenever you move from one of those spheres into the other, they're at odds, and that's going to cause problems. Um, you know,
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, trying to speak, trying to find the right words, and also to be honest about it. I mean, my wife's, I mean, relationships are hard anyway. But my wife, she'll many times tell me, you're not doing a fucking interview now,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, and you don't mean to go into this, me
yeah.
at all. But then obviously something is growing up, something was lacking, or some self validation that you want to, because well, as many people are, are you going to be? You're not going to do fuck all in life. You're not going to do this. You get we'll get bullied,
Yeah.
and how you take that in personally, what you do with it. Yes, it gives you perhaps a drive to succeed, but then that very success sometimes can be a bit blinding or whatever, and you have to bring yourself back down to reality a little bit. And but yeah, it's. I mean, Nick always said to me too, which I always liked. He always felt that he would say, like, like being on tour sometimes is a form of instant. It's like you like being institutionalized,
Yeah.
And I always and at first I thought, what do you mean by that? But then I thought, well, yeah, because you're on the road. I think even the most disciplined of characters, you don't mean to be like you can be, and you can be silently enamored by not so much the praises, whatever, or you're this or that, But you go on tour and it's just like, okay, well, your loading's this, and you walk in and there's food.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think for yourself,
Yeah.
and all this kind of shit, and you can be like, you're in this massive bubble, and at first it's amazing, it's great, it's when the four of us lived in the Napalm Death house, it was like, it's great, and this is fine. But then real responsibilities kick in, or you have kids, and you got to take school runs and stuff like that, and I found some of the simplest things. Like, I mean, I'm like, I would go, I'll play in front of 200,000 people. Yeah, I'm fucking stressing out trying to tie my kid's shoelaces.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what's going on there?
Yeah.
That's insane. I mean, I have no problems going on stage, this is from someone who was shy at school and got bullied,
Of course.
and blah blah blah, basically was scared to go on the first Napalm Death tour.
Yeah.
But so all these weird things go on in there. Um, yeah. So I go off on tangents as I tend to, but yeah, it's necessary part of life. I feel this point in my life. It's necessary to look at this stuff because some people don't get the chance, and unfortunately, they're not here to get that chance.
That's true. Yeah, and I mean, this might sound crass, and it's not intended to, but you can see this sitting just behind me here. I've got a copy in front of me too. My friend wrote a book on this, Shane. He wrote this, which is Mental Health for Metalheads. James
Oh
Neeson
yeah,
wrote
yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think some guy gave me a wristband the other day.
Well, that's, I'm delighted to hear that. So Ed Rapke painted the cover for that book, and
Oh yeah, nice.
the reason I'm doing all the promo for it is because I edited it and did a little bit of graphic design and stuff too. But I've also, as a consequence of editing the book, I've read it, and Shane, an awful lot of what you and I have just talked about, those sort of ideals about looking after yourself and what's the best way to put it, is maybe challenging some of the unhelpful ways in which we think and how our sense of self is determined, and that how that leads to anxiety and depression and suicidal ideation and all of this stuff. It's covered in that book in great researched detail. James he's a nurse, but also he spent a year and a half researching that book and talked to an awful lot of people and took courses and tried everything. And it's written in such a way that's designed to appeal to fans of heavy music. So, it's full of, references and analogies and ways of essentially framing those examples that hopefully will visualize them and help people, stick. But you said there about how, we have to think about these things. If we could get people thinking about this when they were younger, it would be a brilliant thing, because it would maybe stop more people from getting into trouble. Because I mean, the first time I ever experienced poor mental health, I didn't know what the fuck was happening to me. I literally didn't know really what depression or OCD or whatever it was. But a book like this, conversations like this, can help with that stuff. So I mean, again, not to be like a buy my friend's book thing, but for anybody listening, this is a good resource. And just it's very important to me to get the word out there, because I've known people who've had really bad struggles with this, and you've had struggles with this, and I've had struggles with it, and I just think it's good to talk about it and highlight it. And
it doesn't get a lot of the time it can get swept under the carpet. And I mean the ex-drummer from Cancer, also called my friend Carl Stokes, he became a Jungian psychotherapist.
Right. Okay.
Psychotherapist. And so I talked to him a lot at one point. I wasn't a patient or anything, he was a mentor, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Because he went through many issues himself. And he would say, we would talk about things like, growing up and the people we sort of adored, Ozzy, Lemmy, whoever, pretty wild characters, and we then said, well, was it the absence of a father figure? I'm like, well, possibly, maybe not. But growing up in the 70s, it's probably, I don't know what it's like now, but it's a different thing. And, your dad was at work, and sometimes and I can speak from a little bit. Sometimes you're not shown to be a father,
Mm-hmm.
or you don't have that experience, so then you have to learn that.
Yeah.
I'd like to think I'm more present for my kids than my dad was for me. He didn't intend any of it. It was just a classic 70s growing up thing, He was up the pub and whatever, that was it. And of course, up the pub is the same as going out on tour with your band.
Yeah.
That's your safe spot, because everyone's acting like a fucking nutcase or whatever. Or I mean, not in a bad way. It's just it's acceptable to be that is it. But then you have to bring yourself home, and then how you deal with that and all that stuff, and that balance is key to moving forward in a better way. I mean, you do whatever you want, drink whatever. I mean, I've done my fair share of a lot of things, but I always remember saying when I was a kid I wouldn't get into drinking really, because my family were a bunch of drinkers, and then lo and behold, there I did. And it's no, I mean, you have a choice. Of course, you do. You have a choice, but it's very easy to fall into the job description of the rock star, or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're not careful.
Well, life is this. I mean, our society is defined by these sort of frameworks and boxes, and like even the example you gave there of you walk to a venue and your catering's there and the catering's led on, but it's going to be a certain type of catering that appeals to most people, that will satisfy most people, maybe not even on a base nutritional level. The whole structure of your day then is dictated by waiting, sound check, gig for 90 minutes, and then you're stuck with adrenaline for the rest of the evening. How do you deal with that? And then you're in a new city, you mightn't have any time to see any of these interesting sites, appreciate the culture. It's just grind. Particularly back in the 90s, that would have been more of a thing. But what I'm saying is, these frameworks exist because they suit the majority of people that are exposed to them, but they're not going to suit everybody. And then that's when you find yourself thinking, why am I maybe not enjoying this? Why am I not flourishing? Why is this difficult? Why do I not feel good? And like you say, you have to figure out ways to navigate this. And sometimes it's maybe a little bit too late, and some damage is done. You know.
It can also be too late, but it's also it can be like for now, like at the moment, I can't go to the gym. It's not. I don't do anything extraordinary down the gym, but I'm trying to get some oxygen going through the system, and then you do a bit of this, you do a bit of that. But you go on tour, or even when I go to the studio, I slack off,
Yeah.
And you don't want to slack off, but it's so easy to go. Oh, I'm there mixing downstairs. I go upstairs and sit on the couch and fucking scoff a bucket of Pringles,
Yep.
which is not the way forward. But you do it, and you start slacking off a little bit, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, someone might, they might be watching this going, "What's he on about?" Fucking talking shit or whatever. But it's. I'm not. I'm not. What I'm trying to say is, like, I think about like touring, because I have these discussions about going on tour with Napalm. I'm going, well, okay, so I have this, and this has just come up for me today. It should have come up before, probably. But I'm thinking, well, hold on a minute. I have these issues with alcohol. Clearly I've recognised that. Now you can get it anywhere. It's more available now than I think it's ever been. It's ridiculous. I find that, but I'm generally, I see the demon or whatever you want to call him. I see him there, recognize him. I say, I know you're there, and you're going to stay where you are.
Yeah.
That's that. But if I go on tour, like we're going on a campaign for musical destruction tour, you got 4 bands on a bus.
Yeah.
Now, a couple of guys drink, not very much. Most of them don't. Barn doesn't, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm being pretty open here, and I'm going, okay, so now I'm in a position, well, if I'm going to go back out to do what I need to do, then there can't be any alcohol on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I never would have said that before. I would go, as you only come to me today, I could go, okay, well, yeah, the point is it's up to me to be disciplined. But at the same time, you need some help sometimes,
Absolutely, yeah.
You need to, and of course the guys, they've been more than helpful, more than supportive of me. But then this is where my headspace is a little bit, honestly speaking. And whether I should say that now or not should at all, but I'm saying it, and that's it. And these are the things that. But of course, it's very hard to have that kind of thing everywhere. You can't have that, and you go to festivals.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. You've got to be very disciplined about it. So all this is like part of the journey that I'm on, I suppose.
Yeah, 100%. But I mean, you would think with the guys in the band that you would like to think that they would be supportive of that. And the first step is trying to control, I suppose, the extent to things that you can maybe control, and then everything else is dealing with how do I react to the things that I can't control. But I imagine Barney's in your corner at least, and all the guys.
It's generally okay there, but that's just something that's come up for me probably today, but then I think, well, we should most of the time you can control that. It's just certain situations can be difficult, and then you've got because then you got like we're going on one of those buses and there's a lot of young bands and they're very enamored by it all and they're very much into it. They're very young, and then you go, okay, well, you don't want to be the party pooper.
Yeah.
But if you have if you have alcohol problems, which I clearly do, one bad day could be one bad day. You got to be careful about that. So it's saying that you could run around the corner. So whatever. So I don't know, but it's these are interesting thoughts to think about, and it is. I never would have thought about it before, but now I did.
It's hard, Shane. And listen, we got to talk about the new album because and thank you very much for providing me with a copy of that in advance, because I really wanted to be able to talk to you about it in a bit of depth and with some full understanding of it. But like lyrics on that album you're discussing what we're talking about here. You're discussing that introspection and dealing with, reckoning with how you're feeling and how to move forwards. And first of all, it's brilliant, and I'm not saying that just because you're on the screen with me. I really, really, really like it. I think it's fabulous. On every level, I think it's the perfect length. I adore the cover art. I adore the production. The range of sounds that's on there. It's it's a really interesting departure for you, and that's an interesting thing to say to a guy who's got. Do you know how many album credits you're up to now? You got to be what, north of 70? Would that be right?
Maybe. I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's a bunch. Like I've got like a foot, like 12 inches of Napalm Death CDs sitting here to the left of me, and then you've got obviously the Brewery stuff and Dark Sky Burial and everything. But it's a departure. The first thing that I wanted to ask was how what led to you wanting to release this record with your name as opposed to another alias, Dark Sky Burial or Tomas or anything like that? Why does this one say Shane Embury on the front?
Well, I think I had another name for it, which I'll keep that in the dark for now. But
Okay.
it was really, I suppose, because there's a couple of tracks, mainly Spasm Prayer, probably in Thorns, or they kind of started life as Dark Sky tracks,
Okay.
Um, as the vocal ideas grew and grew, because the vocals for Spasm Prayer kind of came, or the yeah, that came together reasonably easy. Those were a bit more difficult because there's more singing, I suppose. Um, and it seemed that yeah, I mean, you start singing on it more and more. And at that time, Dark Sky didn't really have much vocals, so that was kind of a small point towards it. But then it was just like, well, I just thought, well, I've got so many bands, so many names, and I'm not opposed to having projects with a name. But a few conversations that I'd had with my friend Carl again about like our name, our name is given to us.
Yeah.
It's not particularly us;
Mhm.
it's the name. And it's like, well, I looked at it from loads of weird angles, and one of the weird angles, right or wrong, was like, well, I could call it, I don't know, whatever, and will it get as much attention as my name?
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that from an egotistical, big-headed point of view. More a case of like, I don't, am I Shane Embury? Well, there's a particular version of Shane Embury out there,
Mhm.
but it's probably not the Shane Embury that I feel comfortable, totally comfortable with all the time. You have many personas, you have many masks that you can wear. You have the gigging mask, the family mask, the friendly, the let's go out for dinner with your wife's friends mask. Not a deceitful mask,
No, I know what you
but
mean.
but
Yeah.
but but a mask, something you present to the world. And there's probably then there's a part of you never present to the world that you're too afraid to.
Mhm.
Um, so in that aspect, I thought, well, you know, I think it seems to tie in with the lyrics of the themes of the record are basically me trying to work out just what is my authentic self, or the self I'm most comfortable with, that also recognizes all the other, the egotistical parts, the big-headed parts, the bad parts. I mean, Carl Jung once said he doesn't want to be a good man; he wants to be a whole man. You know,
Yeah.
by being a whole man is the good and the bad. I mean, that's the problem with many religions, is they try to separate this thing, this illusion that you have to do X amount of things to be in touch with God, where God's already inside you. That's you.
Mhm.
That's all part of you. Um, so it seemed to make sense to me that with it's an exploration of like me trying to find me, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's why I called that, and that was that. Yeah, I guess.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's a superb answer. I mean, it works very much in tandem with the book, which presents, as you move throughout that story, there are more and more elements of you trying to figure out you, while also presenting art. And I suppose, Shane, when you were younger, the goal was just wanted to make music and write songs and entertain people and satisfy yourself and, see places and make friends and all of that stuff. But as you get older, you start thinking more about what's this for. And with someone as prolific as you, definitely attributing more of a value or a meaning to releasing something. And the audiobook version of your book is brilliant as well, because obviously so much more comes across listening to you read it. And I think that came out this year. Is that right? That didn't come out at the time.
Yeah, no, just this year, yeah.
Yeah, and it's brilliant. I mean, you can get that wherever you get your audiobooks, folks. But like, I definitely recommend it. It's worth having the book too, though, because there are testimonials from friends and family in this that aren't in the audiobook version, which are all of them are worth reading. And was it Dan Ilker talks about the Ilker what's the phrase, Ilker proximity syndrome, was that if he's near you for a festival that he'll inevitably end up covering you from a gig or whatever it was. But
sometimes, yeah, I mean that one gig in particular, yeah, I had a real hard time.
You had a bad health scare at that one, didn't you?
There was probably too much partying, and then just that particular day was just not good for some reason. I don't know what. I did not feel very well.
Was that the weekend that you tried? You were determined to play 4 sets.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I did, yeah, and I missed the one, and luckily Danny was there. I think actually it was really just some crazy anxiety thing, which would probably make sense compared to that. I've just been on tour with Brewery for about 10 days, and I think lack of sleep, lack of everything really, and I just kind of crashed hard on that particular day. And I think that was almost a precursor, some bizarre premonition for some of the things that happened years later on by not looking after myself and not being disciplined.
Would you say, Shane, that was the first time that you experienced something like that?
I think so. Yeah, that was probably definitely the first time because I didn't know what was going on, and I think these are like signs to well, they're definitely warning signs, and if you I should have probably paid more attention a lot earlier than I did. I think because they recurred more frequently as years went on.
Yeah.
And could it, and there's multiple reasons probably why that is. I mean, just existing like that on the edge within music, and then of course having to come home to a family and normal life.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that much more going on in my head now than there was probably 20 years ago, where it was just about touring and making music.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like, and it should have always been the case, but you just kind of, you stress at home and you go on tour, and then that's your escape. But then, of course, if the escape starts to become like too hard to get over,
mm-hmm.
then that's no good. Then you got to face reality, you know.
Of course.
So, and that's where the real work begins, I think.
Of course, yeah. Getting back to the album, have you any hopes for playing any of this music live? Is that something you'd be interested in touring or playing with other musicians, or is this just something you
maybe?
Want to put
maybe,
out,
maybe. I mean, I think let's see. I mean, so far people's reactions have been nice and good, and it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, what goes on. I mean, I'd love to do something like Roadburn or something like that.
Yeah.
Where I can do the visuals. I mean, I have various musicians that have said they would jump in and play with me and stuff, and it would be really something it'd be nice to do something like Roadburn or some sort of festival where I could work towards it with a group of people. Like I really like I'm really good friends with my friend Carvis, who plays guitars in Cardiacs and Gong and sings for Gong. He did something for Roadburn a couple of years ago where it was a particular project where he rehearsed for a week, and then got some musicians and something like that. Where I mean, this is a bit more straightforward musically, but I could bring in some sort of experimental kind of electronics from the Dark Sky stuff, and then have nice visuals. And Costin Corino did the artwork for the album, did the third video, which is really good, and it'd be nice to do like some one-offs here and there.
Yeah, 100%. Do you think Carl would be interested in something like that? He recorded drums for the album, didn't he, Carl Stokes?
He did, but unfortunately, Carl's health isn't too great right now.
Okay.
So unfortunately, that's probably not going to happen. But he helped me a lot on the last Dark Sky album as well, and we hope to do some more stuff together. But there's various people, in there. I mean, I'm quite an interesting guy, friend of mine who would play drums, who from a band you've already mentioned. So I'll leave it at that. So
right.
I'll give you something to think about on it. But so there's people there who can put it together, and of course I'd like to do something like that. But it's just I feel like it would have to. It would need to be something. Not necessarily. I'm not bothered if it's like 10 people. Really, I'd just
Yeah,
be nice to be able to go on a stage where I can present it with to quite more than just audio, some visual stuff going on too.
I
Yeah.
get you. And it's become such a big thing the past, say, 10 or 15 years with those summer festivals where bands will do these sort of like a tribute to a particular album set. So Enslaved are always getting up there and playing like Frost or Viking Liger Veldy or something like that in its
Mm.
entirety. And Icedale and Abath are playing Between Two Worlds, I think, at Beyond the Gates this year, which is 20 years
Mm.
old. A brilliant album, and just so happy to see those guys playing that record in full. I think it's only their second gig ever, but yeah, it makes it more of an occasion, which would be something to look forward to. Shane, it'd be cool to see. What about Napalm? What's the crack with Napalm Death these days? I mean, they've just finished like a run of shows.
Yeah, they're just in. They're just in. I might see Danny in a little bit. They got back yesterday because I did Japan with them,
Mm-hmm.
which was good.
That's right.
And then I bailed out for the fucking hard bit, and they're totally knackered, beyond. And I was in the studio. Was it this year? It might have been that. God, time goes by so quick. I can't remember. Was it this year or even last year? I've done me and Russ because Russ Russell has been producing with us for
Of course.
forever. He's had some health issues, but he's a lot better now. He's back on track, which is really good.
I'm really happy to hear that. Yeah.
So I've been in the studio with him, and we've done the recordings for like 12 tracks, just guitar and bass. I've did some like I've had some with technology being the way it is. I've had some like fake drums up there because Danny's been touring.
Yeah.
And then Danny will go in at some point, probably September, to record real drums to the songs.
Mm-hmm.
Because the days are sort of gone where we sort of sit there jamming forever. You know,
Yeah, I get you.
um, I used to be a bit of a drummer, not that much of one, but and so I can of course Danny's got free reign to change what he wants. So we can do that. But so 12 tracks in, and then I'm going to go in August and do like another 4, 5, or 6 tracks, and then that should be the basics for the next Napalm album, really.
Is John getting involved much with the writing on this one?
John's playing some stuff. He's not writing anything at the moment. He might write something. It all depends. You
Yeah.
know, I sometimes I'll say, "Have you got some stuff?" He's like, "I've got some stuff," and then he hasn't got some stuff. He's done it. He's used it for something else. I don't know, but
Yeah.
it all depends. But
So potentially, really what we're talking about is the first Napalm Death album since From Enslavement without Mitch.
yeah. I mean, the last one was weird because the last one we started in August. Funny enough, actually, in August it would have been 10 years since I actually started recording Throws of Joy.
Jesus, oh,
It didn't come out until September 2020.
that's right.
We finished it by December 2019, but because of COVID, it was delayed a year.
Yeah.
So that's a long. I mean, to think of not doing anything new Napalm musically for 10 years to me is apart from we did the Melvins thing, but that was a bit more of a sort of Frank Zappa-esque grindcore collaboration.
Uh-huh.
And but it's pretty insane that we've not done anything. I mean, there's been various reasons, a lot of touring. Um, the personnel change with Mitch, and then I don't know, just God knows what. I mean, COVID probably got in the way of a lot of it. I think probably.
Yeah, it has threw a lot of stuff off, like, but so we might see something maybe not late this year, but probably early next year.
Early next year, I think is when we're going to see the next Napalm album. Because Barn has his particular way of writing lyrics, and I'm sure he's getting his concepts together. But I mean, the last record, because Mitch had gone, but I ended up writing all the music. But Mitch came back to record the riffs, which is good.
Yeah.
But that was like 23 tracks because we did the album, then we did the mini album. I don't know whether I'm going to go for 23 tracks this year, but it depends now that Russ is. It's kind of a strange thing because I've not been touring at the moment, so I kind of want to just keep on recording songs,
Yeah.
and then get to where we get, and then put out the album, and then I'm sure stuff will be left because it seems like it's changed in ways where people they still love albums, obviously, but it'd be nice to just put out like a track once in a while here and there, or a 7-inch once in a while, just to keep flowing. You know.
I agree, and that would have been a thing back in the early days. Obviously, Mentally Murdered was, they were mostly all non-album tracks. I think Mentally Murdered and Mass Appeal
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Madness
yeah,
and
yeah.
World Keeps Turning. Something actually too I wanted to ask you about that you'd said, I think in the book, about that originally the proposed first track for Diatribes was Antibody, and that
Yeah,
Antibody ended up then being on the EP. I
yeah.
think.
We didn't, yeah, because I think the reason being is because we've done a lot. Napalm Death always records a lot of music.
Yeah.
It was interesting doing the coded smears when I put the track listing for that, because I got all the extra tracks
Mm-hmm.
from the digipacks, etc., on the Century Media, and I was like, "Wow, we have a completely new album here."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I hadn't heard the songs for ages, and I was going, "Oh, if I don't mind saying it myself, it's actually pretty good." I was like, "God, you know,"
Yeah.
and so that makes you look at different perspectives. But yeah, I mean, again, because they wanted a mini album before Diatribes came out, which I'm not sure the reasoning behind that was, but it was, and Antibody was on that, and then of course we opened with Greed Killing,
Yeah.
and then I think some people were like, "My God, what's going on?" And
Mm-hmm.
me and Mitchell always used to say, "Well, I wonder what people's perceptions would have been like if it opened with Antibody, which is like is a typical
Yeah.
ish sort of napalm sort of rager of a track, you know." So there's that there, but yeah, wherever I'm going with that. But I mean, hopefully the Napalm album will be out early next year. I hope, all being well, and then just be nice to put out some tracks here and there when we can. I mean, sometimes when you do an EP or a 4-track or a mini album, it's kind of interesting because you can focus just on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, once that's done, months later, you go on and do something else, which is a bit more, which just becomes different, as opposed to albums. Sometimes you get lost in the mode of making albums,
Yeah.
whereas EPs can be more abstract in direction, maybe.
Yeah, I always like a good experimental EP that has a couple of, tracks that would nearly not be worthy is not the right word of an album, but they would, yeah, they're homeless for an
Yeah,
EP. I mean,
yeah. Yeah.
Logic Ravage by Brute Force, I think that was a one-off as well, wasn't it? That wasn't too long. Well, I suppose now actually we're talking 7 or 8
Yeah,
years maybe,
well,
but
I think that was kind of, it was done around the same. It was the same sessions as maybe Utilitarian, was it
yeah,
maybe?
I think maybe.
But I think there's reasons for that, and it's, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of, when you do an album, you're so close to it, and then the members' perceptions are very. I don't know. It's I mean, I remember. I mean, when we just discussing the album track list, and I wanted a moral much earlier on.
Mm-hmm.
And then a couple of people were like, "Well, no, we'll have it later because there's some reasoning behind it." And then the, the song is like quite popular live, which I kind of knew it would be, but you can't say that without trying to be sounding pompous. But
No, I get you.
and then of course now people are like, "Oh, that's, well, we should have put it earlier on," but it's whatever. It doesn't mean what it means. What it means,
No, I get you. Well, listen, Shane, I better let you go.
We can always have another chat, man. I'm dying for the toilet as well, unfortunately. But you let me know if you need another chat, for sure.
I will, 100%. Thank you so much for your time. Folks, if you're watching this, album's out next Friday, Bridge to Resolution. Buy it, Cherry Red Records. And Shane, I will speak to you again sometime, perhaps.
Yep. Okay, man. Thank you. Cheers,
All
man.
the best. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Cheers, man. Bye-bye.